I just bagged my third girl from this class. Wanna know who? Not really, no. Same, bro. Keep that to yourself. Bro, I'm getting like flashbacks. I'm getting non-flashbacks to when I was in school. They weren't human. They were animals. Not fit for civilized society. Just throw them in a slaughterhouse or something. Seriously. Dude, this guy's borderline freaking Light Yagami, dude. He's got, if he gets any superpowers to hurt people, dude, he's gonna be a villain, dude. This kid is really antisocial. He just like hates people, dude. Ooh, what the frick was that? How's it going, everybody? HoodlaMutt here, back with some more Chaos Head Noah. And last time, we got through the whole intro, and to my dismay, it is looking like Takumi, who is our protagonist, is very much a Daru. At first, I was hoping he would just be a little anime nerd, you know? He got no friends, you know? He just hangs out. But no, I think he's Daru. I think he is. But maybe he'll surprise me. He says he doesn't act like that, you know, IRL. So maybe he was just memeing, you know? It was just a big old joke. It was just a big old meme. And, you know, he just jokes, you know, poorly. But, we found out that he has a friend named Grim online when he plays ESO online. And while talking with Grim and shooting crap back and forth, we had Shogun come into the chat. An anonymous person that we didn't know, who apparently knows something. I don't know exactly what they know, but whoever it is sent us a bunch of images that were messed up, at least the one was, and then told us whose eyes are those eyes, or asked us, I suppose, and that freaked out Takumi because he couldn't figure out how someone could know that he always feels this gaze watching him, whatever that means. But now we had to go to school, I suppose. And so, without further ado, let's just get into it. On top of everything else that had happened, I also had to go to school today. I seriously didn't want to go. But if I didn't follow the minimum attendance sheet to a T, my calculations would get completely thrown off. Worst case scenario, I'd even have to repeat the year. But I'm so tired. I stifled a yawn and started trudging off towards school. A trip that was about 10 minutes from my base on foot. I still can't believe he lives in a crate. Yeah, by the way, he lives in a shipping container. Forgot to mention that. Like, what the heck? As soon as I started walking, my mood sunk even lower. My body grew heavy, and I found it strangely hard to breathe, causing me to break into an uncomfortable sweat. This was what always happened on school days. Well, he must be, like, hyper antisocial then, like, where he must get, like, anxiety or something. Going to school was pure suffering. Why did I have to go through this? Grumbling to myself with my eyes fixed on the pavement, I kept on walking. Either that or he's over-exaggerating. I turned to enter Shoto Park. The school was just past it. Over by the lake, an elderly couple was taking their morning stroll. Nearby, a businessman sat on a bench, reading the sports section of the newspaper. For a park on the outskirts of a bustling city, like Shibuya, it was surprisingly calm. Definitely a great place to relax. I took a seat on another bench nearby. Before heading into school in the morning, I always came here to eat breakfast. I gazed out toward the peaceful pond, the water surrounded by trees with off-color leaves, their hues slowly changing as autumn rolled in. Wait, he doesn't have, like, a shower or anything, does he? Right? I think I mentioned that last episode. So, like, does he doesn't have a bathroom? He doesn't have a shower, I don't think, in that container? Like, so is he just, like not caring about any of that? Or did he find a way to do that somehow? Okay. Maybe he does it, like, at the school, we'll find out or something. As per usual, today's menu was just a cream bun that I'd picked up from the convenience store on the way here. It'd be enough to tide me over until later tonight. I always skipped lunch. Nobody wanted to eat lunch with an otaku freak like me, and there was no way in heck I'd eat alone when surrounded by people eating and chatting together. After washing down my breakfast with some cola, I began staring up at the sky absent-mindedly. That's kind of sad. No matter the season, the sky above Shibuya was always pretty bleak. My parents only lived a few train stations away, but there was still a clear difference between here and there. Don't get me wrong, I didn't especially mind the bleak sky, but I also couldn't really explain why. I glanced at my watch to check the time. I needed to get going or I'd be late. I had to avoid that outcome at all costs. I only came to school 2 to 3 times a week, so I had to keep a low profile. To make it through school, I had to blend in, to become invisible like the air. The ideal school day was one where nothing happened. One where I didn't have to deal with any of my teachers or DQN classmates. That was the ultimate goal I shot for, and it would continue to be until the day I'd finally graduate. Wow, that's just really sad. This was Sume Private Academy, the school I went to. Apparently, it had only been built around 10 years ago, so it didn't exactly have a rich history or anything like that. Since it still looked brand new, it made a pretty good setting for high school TV shows. On top of that, the school uniforms had apparently been designed by some famous designer. A ton of shallow girls enrolled just so that they could wear it. And while they called it a prep school, most students here didn't score much higher than the national average. Interesting he goes to a prep school. I wouldn't have figured that, okay. Huh. Interesting, but he said he's smart, right? Or at least by his own admission. Is he actually smart, though? I mean, if he makes a living off of playing friggin' games, he, like, takes in-game currency and can turn it into real currency, I mean, that's pretty smart, but whatever. Even more ironic, though, was that the school slogan was, "Here you'll be free," and yet the school rules were actually really strict. Then again, they never actually bothered enforcing those rules. So I guess the slogan wasn't really wrong in the end. I mean, I barely ever showed up, and I passed my classes just fine. If you could get away with that, you could probably get away with anything. As I closed in on the school, I could hear the other students more and more clearly. I wasn't good at dealing with crowds, so I just kept my head low as I slipped through the gate. Nobody talk to me. Nobody talk to me. I repeated those words in my head like a mantra. My younger sister also attended this school, though she still lived with my parents. Run into her, and any perfectly fine day could turn into a nightmare. Luckily, I hadn't run into her this time. I made it to class safe and sound. I rushed over to my seat, being extra careful not to make eye contact with anyone. I could feel a nearby group of girls shoot a glance at me, but thankfully, they went right back to chatting afterward. They all thought I was a freak. I was sure of it. Well, from my point of view, you 3D girls are the real freaks here. If you think I'm a freak, then don't look at me. Just pretend like I'm not here. Don't acknowledge me at all. If you all just do that, then I won't bother you either, and I can go about my day in peace. That's why it always confuses me when I see DQNs calling people freaks. I just don't get it. If you think they're such a freak, then why even bother talking to them? Just stay in your corner, and they'll stay in theirs. Regardless, I was just sitting there, looking down at my desk when... Yo, Taku! Someone suddenly clapped me on the back. Startled, I turned to look behind me. Wait, is that a guy or a girl? I can't tell. Didn't know you were coming in today. Oh, Misumi-kun. Okay, it is a guy. Okay, that's what I thought. Usually, I couldn't tell because of the earring, but the face kind of looked more masculine, so. It was Mitsumi Daisuke, one of my classmates. He shot me a friendly smile from beside my desk. The guy was pretty handsome, so all the girls were into him. But he was also into them, and dated them. A lot of them. Usually multiple at a time. If you ask me, he was balls deep into DQN territory. If it were up to me, I'd steer clear of him, but... You're looking as grim as ever. You stay up all night playing games again? Not really. He was the only person in the class who was comfortable talking to me. Though we had absolutely nothing in common, so I had no idea why he bothered. I like how it has them blinking too, that's new. It's so weird, it's like, I don't know if they did that for this new game or not, it's just like, because I don't have anything to like, compare it to, you know? I just have Steins Gate to compare it to, and they didn't have that, so it's kind of cool. I'd been suspicious about it ever since the school year began. If I were a girl, I could maybe understand, but since I was a guy, it made no sense to me. I know it's hard since you're a shut-in and all, but you should really try to speak up. I would if I could. Just the act of talking to another 3D human being was painful. Anxiety made it hard for me to speak naturally. My lack of experience made it hard for me to articulate things. Okay, so he does have some form of anxiety, okay. And I was always afraid of being teased for saying something weird. That was why I always shrunk back. You have no idea how much pain I'm going through. So please don't talk like you know me. Also, I'm not a freaking shut-in. Real shut-ins stay in their rooms 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I'm not like that. I mean, I can understand feeling nervous around chicks, but if you keep stuttering like that around me, people might start thinking we're gay. Huh? Wait, was he just dating girls as a cover? Had he been into guys all along? I tried to back away from him, nearly falling out of my chair in the process, but I quickly grabbed onto my desk to catch myself. The heck are you doing, dude? Mitsumi-kun, are you gay? What? No way in heck! Did you forget all the chicks I've landed? Right. Phew. That was terrifying. Speaking of landing chicks... Mitsumi-kun took a quick look around, then lowered his voice and grinned from ear to ear. I just bagged my third girl from this class. Wanna know who? Not really, no. Same, bro. Keep that to yourself. Bro, I'm getting like flashbacks. I'm getting non-flashbacks to when I was in school. Come on, you can at least pretend to care. It was Tanaka, man. Tanaka! Who's Tanaka? Do you seriously not know the names of our classmates by now? It's nearly October, dude. Well, you say you're not into 3D girls, so I guess it makes sense. Visibly frustrated, he shrugged his shoulder and let out a sigh. Well, interestingly enough, he never insulted my taste in girls, which was, to put it simply, that they had to be from the second dimension. But he never called me a freak for that. He just didn't bother with things that didn't interest him. That was what made me think he may not have been all that bad. That was also probably the reason why I didn't mind talking to him. Anyway, I've pretty much scored on every cute girl in this class by now. I think it's about time I start heading next door. Okay, maybe he was pretty bad. If a girl overheard some of the crap he said, she'd be horrified. There's a real hot one in Class D, but it doesn't look like she comes to school much. Ain't got much in the chest, though. Now that I think about it, though, aren't you into flat girls anyway? Gosh dang it, what is this conversation? I'm trying to hold out and I can't. I just freaking... Golly! Get me out of this, dude! Oh my gosh! Are you talking about 2D? Alright, new topic. Please. Have you heard about New Gen? I hadn't expected to hear those words come out of his mouth. And here I'd thought he was only capable of thinking about girls. I couldn't even picture him watching the news or reading the newspaper. There's been some rumors that the group dive wasn't actually a suicide. What? Yeah, that's what Sports Tokyo said. What, so his source was Sports Tokyo? That kinda erased any and all credibility. Still, I'd already known about that rumor. Not that I cared. Okay, now listen closely. This is the good part. An eyewitness said that the killer's a chick. And a real hottie at that, too. A chick? Watching Miss Mikun get so excited, it finally hit me. Why did he suddenly care enough to read Sports Tokyo? Same reason he cared about anything else. Something to do with girls. What a twist. I guess Miss Mikun would even go after serial killers, as long as they were cute. I mean, if it were me, I'd take a cute 2D serial killer, but... Miss Mikun stared longingly at the blue sky outside the window. Then, for some reason, his face suddenly lit up as if he reached enlightenment itself. Dude, we gotta get our boy Takumi. I'm calling him our boy until he eventually totally just makes me hate him like Daru. He's not quite there yet. I'm trying to give him, you know, some wiggle room, okay? I'm trying to say, okay, maybe this is his this is his ordinary world. He's a loser, whatever. Okay, he'll come out of it. But for now, we're working with him, okay? We gotta get this kid a girlfriend, man. We gotta get him some help, brother. I'm gonna do everything in my power to help him. Really, though, I wonder what kind of person the murderer is. Is she really a cutie? If she is, then I really want to meet her. Yeah, this dude definitely thought exclusively with the wrong head. I know she wouldn't kill me. I mean, look at me. I've got the looks, and chicks dig me. No matter how many people she's killed, she'd definitely fall in love with a nice guy like me. And that's why she wouldn't kill you? This guy was so delusional that he gave me a run for my money. Okay, at least he's self-aware. I mean, there's that, but, you know, whatever. The fact that he was able to say all of that without even a hint of irony was honestly pretty gross. Brother, so has he been saying it with irony this whole time? I feel like he's been pretty legit, so whatever, I guess. I don't really care. The heck do you mean, don't really care? You know the killer is somewhere in this city, right? It might even be someone you've met before. Yeah, well, for all I know, you could be the murderer. Okay, probably not. But it was entirely possible that the killer could be one of the students at this very school. If that turned out to be true, maybe I'd use my PTSD as an excuse to come in less often without hurting my attendance. So, want to check out the crime scene with me? It's close enough to walk to from here. I heard they haven't even finished cleaning up the blood yet. I had absolutely zero interest in doing that. I just wanted to get through school in peace, go home, greet Seraton, and get back to being worshipped like a god in Baselard. Come on! Even Kobashi and Hasegawa have gone to see it. I really don't want to. Whoa, what's that? What is that? Hello? I felt bad about turning Miss Mikun down, since he seemed so excited about it, but I really did not want to go. But even though I was trying my hardest to refuse, he just wasn't listening. Maybe we'll even see the murderer. They say the criminal always returns to the scene of the crime, right? Maybe she'd pick you as her next victim. To atone for your sins, you must die! You know, that kind of thing. As for your sins, though, being a shut-in. A shut-in? I'm not... Taking some offense at Miss Mikun's choice of words, I almost snapped back at him. But I quickly decided against it when I considered the possibility that he might get upset at me. Man, this guy really is. He's pretty debilitated, man. I think he really is he's just so in his own head, you know? So I just bit my lip and turned away. And when I did, I noticed that there was something written on the blackboard. At first, I didn't really care enough to read what was written there. My mind only registered the fact that something was written there, and not what it was. But the longer I gazed at it, the more I realized something was wrong. Huh? Before I knew it, I was out of my chair. Move for a sec! Ow! What was that for? Oh my gosh! Okay. That's sketch, dude. That's gotta mean Shogun's in here. Shogun's gotta be in this school, yo. I had a feeling, too, I didn't mention it last time, but I have a feeling Shogun's a girl. How much you wanna bet? How much you wanna bet Shogun's a girl, dude? I just have a feeling. It's just in my heart of hearts, I just know it. I pushed Miss Mikun aside and rushed over to the blackboard. The instant I realized what it said, I felt my heart stop. Whose eyes are those eyes? Those were the words I said to myself whenever I felt God's gaze. I'd never said them out loud before. Oh, that's why it bothered him. Okay. Interesting. I hadn't told anyone about them either. Not even Miss Mikun. It didn't matter how often I used it. There was no way anyone in this class could know about that phrase. So who? Why? How? I quickly turned around and scanned the room. The only person paying any attention to me was Miss Mikun. The rest were talking to their friends, reading manga, despite manga being against the rules, or sleeping on their desks. Then, who? Who had written it? And when? Had it been there the whole time? Since before I'd even entered the classroom? I couldn't remember. It wasn't like I ever paid any attention to the blackboard anyway. Come on, what's the matter? Miss Mikun walked up to me, grabbed my shoulder, and gave me a good shake. Are you even listening? Hello? Taku? It didn't matter who'd written it. It had to be a coincidence. It must have just been a common phrase or something. It was just a stupid, pointless scribble. Yeah, that had to be it. Interesting, though. I tried to convince myself of that, but it was still freaking me out. I still had no clue who'd written it. I'd have to ask everyone in class to figure that out, and I didn't have anywhere near that kind of courage. Immediately after I thought that, homeroom began, and my teacher came in the room. His eyes immediately zoned in on the words written on the board, and with a quick, "Come on, who wrote this?" he grabbed the eraser and wiped them all away. Interesting. For some reason, I was still a little creeped out, but I tried to just carry on like always. If I let myself get any more scared, I'd probably start thinking that someone was deliberately targeting me. But that was ridiculous. It was just a coincidence. In the end, I had to keep telling myself that until school was over. And when it finally was, I headed toward my usual internet cafe. Interesting. Internet cafe, huh? I guess they did have that. Yeah, because they had internet cafes back in like 2004 too, I'm pretty sure. Actually, that was probably the way people used the internet the most, was internet cafes or the library. So I'm just like, I keep thinking like, I guess it just feels weird. I feel like they wouldn't have had that much progress at this point in history, but maybe they did. Okay. For an indoor person like me, At Cafe was the only hangout spot I enjoyed. Being at the center of Shibuya and all, there were plenty of 3D DQN women and office drones occupying it, but since the rooms were all private, that wasn't an issue. As for the room I was in, it was the one I always reserved, room 37, located way in the back. It was pretty inconvenient to get refills, but since very few people ever reserved rooms near the back, it was nice and quiet. Once or twice a week, I'd come here on my way home from school to log on to my other ESO account. Neidhart was essentially a celebrity, so this was my way to just relax and enjoy the game. While I did love being treated like a hero all the time, it sure did take its toll. Oh, he's got his girl alternate character, I see. That was why I'd made another avatar. This one was a female character named Lieselot. I hadn't accomplished anything big with her. I'd mainly just made her to help Neidhart look even better by comparison. Dude, this is freaking sad, bro. This is just like, I keep saying it, but it really is. It's just like he has other accounts to make his main account look better. Are you kidding me? Like, oh my goodness. I played for about 3 hours to blow off some steam. I then had some fun messing around with my guildmates while talking about hardcore dojins and other random crap. Oh my gosh. We gotta get this boy a life, man. We can save him. He's not too far gone. I believe. By the time I'd left the cafe, it was already around 9 p.m. Holy crap, dude. That was your whole day. There were even more DQNs around at this time of night. They'd line the streets like they owned the place, stuffing their faces with greasy hamburgers as they let out the most disgusting laughter imaginable. Just looking at them made me want to puke. And what was especially bad? If you just so much as looked at them the wrong way, they'd immediately come and beat the crap out of you. Freaking savages. They weren't human. They were animals, not fit for civilized society. Just throw them in a slaughterhouse or something. Seriously. Dude, this guy's borderline freaking Light Yagami, dude. He's got, if he gets any superpowers to hurt people, dude, he's gonna be a villain, dude. This kid is really antisocial. He just, like, hates people, dude. I mean, kind of. I mean, he was okay with Miss Me, but whatever. And still, he's got that hatred in his head, you know? I can see it. This is exactly how Death Note started. Well, I say that, but there was no way I could hope to ever stand up to them myself. So there was no point in trying. Regardless, it was time to get the heck out of Center Guy. On my way back from At Cafe, I always dropped by Manga Darake, which was pretty close by, or Animeite, which was a bit further off. I decided to check out Animeite today, so I headed toward the station's south exit. Down that path, there was an instant drop in the number of DQNs. You know, I just started thinking about this too. the beginning of this game is a whole lot more based in like, like a typical person's reality than Steins Gate was, right? Because in Steins Gate, Okabe was, he was going to school to do like science and stuff, and he was really into like time travel type, stuff he started talking about, like when he met Keretz and all that and whatnot. This is very much, it just seems like we're just playing as a normal guy. Your average everyday guy who just doesn't like people, doesn't want to be around people, is anxious, very antisocial. It's like we're just a normal guy doing normal guy things rather than, we have a lab and, all this type of stuff. I find that interesting. It's kind of refreshing in that regard. Man, Center Guy was complete and utter chaos. Just walking through it brought me nothing but pain and suffering. I'd never set foot there again if I could help it. I wish the whole place would just get blown to smithereens. Except for At Cafe and Manga Darake, of course. Alright then. Time to go browsing for some comics, doujins, or whatever else catches my eye. Oh yeah, that's right. The Bloodtune Volume 5 DVD was coming out soon. Was it available for pre-order yet? If so, I definitely needed to get one nailed down. Interesting, so he must have been watching via DVD, right? No, he couldn't have been. I don't know. Before I knew it, I found myself in an alleyway in Maruyumacho, the same alley I always took back home from Anime-ite. I blinked a couple of times to make sure that I wasn't just seeing things. I took a look inside my bag. Nothing inside but the usual. Some textbooks and a handheld game system. I hadn't bought anything from Anime-ite today. Strange. Normally, I'd never leave Anime-ite empty-handed. Wait, did he just have a lapse in memory? What was that? Well, whatever. I let out a sigh and continued walking. Shouldn't take me more than 15 minutes to reach my base from here. I was only a short walk from the station, yet the dazzling neon lights and thick crowds had all but vanished. There were the occasional passers-by, usually older couples heading to love hotels or random businessmen heading home. But aside from that, the place was deserted. Hard to believe this was still Shibuya, home of the bustling DQN-infested Center Guy. Somehow, it was already nighttime. And if that weren't enough, it was especially cloudy tonight, making it even darker than usual since the moonlight couldn't shine through. Here we go again. I'd walked down this dirty alley more times than I could count. But for some reason, walking through it today, I couldn't help but feel as if I'd stepped into another world. The alley was the same as ever, but it felt like it was the first time I'd ever set foot in it. What is that ringing? What's more, the stench of rotting garbage was lingering in the air. The moisture in the atmosphere was so thick that, if I hadn't known any better, I'd have assumed that it'd just been raining. The air was like syrup on my skin. Wait. Hold on. Why did I say again? Has this happened before? Yeah, he's having like lapses in memory or something, dude. This is weird. What is going on with him? Hadn't I felt this sense of yamais vu before? That's supposed to be deja vu? I don't know what that... I don't even know if I pronounced that right, but whatever. Crap. Was I getting my delusions mixed up with reality or something? That sounded like the kind of nonsense some expert psychiatrist would say on one of those TV talk shows. Well, whatever. The point was, right at that moment, I was feeling a strange sense of yamais vu. But, on top of that, I could feel a prickling sensation on the nape of my neck. A sensation I knew very well. The feeling of being watched from the heavens. And I could say for sure that it was no delusion. It felt inescapable, as if no matter where I went, the gaze would follow. There was no doubt in my mind, somebody was watching me. That was just how powerful the sensation was. I desperately wanted to look behind me, but I challenged myself not to. It was a game that I played every once in a while. A test. I called it the "it'll take more than that to make me turn around" game. The aim of the game, obviously, was to avoid turning around. I played it when I heard a weird sound or felt like I was being watched. Whenever I felt the gaze, I tended to imagine some kind of insanely terrifying ghost or monster lurking behind me. Not like I'd ever actually seen anything in the past 17 years, though. Even on the occasions when I'd lost my patience and turned around. Still, I'd always been able to have at least a little bit of fun with it. I'd listen to the wind, raise an eyebrow suspiciously, and say phrases ripped straight out of a manga. That was the only reason why I did it. Because it was fun. Definitely not because I was scared or anything. What do you think you're looking at, jerk? Whose eyes are those eyes? Gotcha. Okay, to be honest, I was really just trying to act calm. But before I knew it, I'd stopped dead in my tracks. I sensed a change in the atmosphere, paralyzing my body in place. I then noticed my face was soaked with sweat, and my knees were shaking. I couldn't take it anymore, and turned around. Which meant that I'd lost, but thankfully, there was no one behind me. Not even a car passing by or something. So why did I feel so uneasy? The ringing in my ears ceased. Oh, that was in his ears. Oh, okay. I hadn't even realized it, but I'd been hearing some ringing sound this whole time. I noticed it. I thought it was like the air conditioner I'm seeing in the back there or whatever. Okay. But still, until now, I had been completely oblivious to it. Something's going on, dude. Someone's messing with him, and it's messing with his mind or something. He's having lapses in memory. He's having, he must be doing things, and then when he comes to again, it's like he's having the repercussions of it, so the ringing must have been because of something else, but he doesn't remember. He just remembers walking home, right? It's got to be what it is. And now that it was gone, I couldn't hear anything at all. For a place like Tokyo, this sort of sudden silence seemed completely unreal. It was the sort of perfect silence where you could hear a pin drop if you focused hard enough. So I closed my eyes and listened closely, just to see what I could hear. I was going to say I didn't hear anything. But I still couldn't hear anything at all. That was pretty strange. No, that was definitely strange. There were all sorts of things I should have been hearing. Trains running by, car horns in the distance, some sort of small noise. Yeah, that's a good point. What the heck? Has he gone into another dimension? So why did I hear nothing? Was something wrong with my ears? I felt compelled to shout, just so I could hear something. I felt like I might go crazy otherwise. But I couldn't do it. The silence was deafening, but it made me fear what would happen if I broke it. Suddenly, a single sound resounding through the silent world. What the heck? I turned my head to look for the source, but instead, I found a slew of shining objects scattered across the asphalt. Are those crosses? When I saw them, my body suddenly unfroze. And naturally, perhaps too naturally, I started moving toward them. Driven by curiosity, I picked one up. It was made of metal, with a long pointy end like a needle. That's gotta be symbolic, right? Like, there's no way that it's not symbolic. Are we gonna get into some religious type stuff here? A stake? Or a nail, maybe? Whatever it was shaped like a cross, hence my initial confusion. It felt almost phantasmal, like it might float away at any moment. I tightened my grip on it. And the sound continued to reverberate faintly in the distance. A sound cold enough to send chills down my spine, repeating incessantly. Even so, I couldn't help but move toward its source. It was like I was in a trance. Was it just morbid curiosity? Or was I hoping that the sound would save me? That it would grant me salvation from this silent world? You know, this reminded me of that one German folktale. What was it called again? Oh yeah, The Pied Piper of Hamelin. A story in which the sound of one man's pipe lured over 100 children into following him. The clanging sound refused to stop, and the further I walked, the louder it got. It was coming from further down the alley, past the corner on my left. I could already tell. If I turned that corner, I would be met with the source of that sound. And yet, I never thought of turning back. Such a thought didn't even cross my mind. It was like my body was moving on its own. And so, I turned the corner, and my eyes were struck by a vibrant crimson shining through the darkness. Oh, frick! That's what we saw in the picture. Oh no. My first thought was, where have I seen this art piece before? And my second thought was, it doesn't look very realistic. Maybe I was so shocked that my brain wasn't processing things properly. Normally, when I saw something this terrifying, I'd freeze, scream like a little girl, and pee my pants all at once. The work consisted of spikes arranged on a wall, like the quills of a hedgehog or pins in a pincushion. But when I looked closer, I realized the pincushion was leaking blood. So then, that meant that the puddle of crimson below it was blood. The feeble glow of a streetlight just barely reached it, causing the pool to gleam in the darkness. Scattered around were a few shining pieces of what looked like meat. Maybe I couldn't really tell. I tried to gulp, but my throat had gone completely dry. Not a single drop of saliva to be found. And then I realized the thing that was nailed to the wall was a human corpse. A murder that was far too unnatural, far too brutal, far too immoderate. And the one who'd done it, the one who'd nailed those stakes to the wall, was a single girl. As for how I knew that, oh my gosh, it was because she was right there, standing in front of her art, holding a bundle of stakes in her blood-soaked hand. I could only see her back from here, so I obviously had no clue what she looked like. What I could tell, though, was what she was wearing. A Suime Academy uniform. The stench of rotting garbage was intensifying, and I was hit with wave after wave of nausea. I put a hand to my mouth to stop myself from vomiting, but I was nearly at my limit. And then it suddenly dawned on me. The cause of my déjà vu. The answer to the question, where have I seen this before? The picture Shogun sent. Without meaning to, I'd said that out loud, without realizing how dangerous or even deadly that mistake could be. In response to my voice, her shoulder twitched slightly. And with that, she slowly turned to face me. Oh, what the frick? In that moment, it was as if her gaze was piercing straight through me. Such desolate eyes. She had just killed someone. At first, she seemed shocked, but her expression quickly changed to a somber smile. And then... Thank goodness. Huh? She softly whispered those words. Thank goodness? Thank goodness for what? And why was she smiling at me? I didn't understand. The questions kept piling up, to the point where it sent a chill down my spine. Now panicking, I tried averting my eyes. The first thing that came to mind was, I don't want anything to do with this. I mean, for starters, I could hardly make eye contact with regular 3D girls, let alone psycho killers, and the police would be here soon, and I was hungry. That's why I should just go home. Yeah, I need to get out of here, as fast as humanly possible. If I don't, I'll go insane. Taku. Huh? Suddenly, she called me by name, even though I'd never told her my name. Even though I'd never even met her before. Dude, is she grim? I was looking for you. As she looked at me, her lips twisted into a horrifically fearsome smile. Almost like she was a demon. Ooh! What the frick was that? Screaming at the top of my lungs, I ran as fast as my legs could carry me. It hurt to breathe, but I didn't care. I just kept screaming and running as if my life depended on it. Did that sound that way for you guys too? Was that an audio glitch, or was that like actually how it was supposed to sound? It went from one ear to the other and kept boomeranging back and forth. That freaking sounded weird, dude. Ugh, I didn't like that. At one point along the way, I turned my head to look behind me, but she didn't seem to be chasing me. I was completely winded. My lungs struggled to shovel air in and out, and my agonized panting echoed throughout my room. Okay, so now he's back. That was weird. What did that mean, dude? Okay. I plopped down in my computer chair. My body and clothes were completely drenched in sweat. What the frick had just happened? Another one of my delusions? My nausea was becoming unbearable. Trying to alleviate it, I grabbed a cola from the fridge and chugged it as fast as I could. That delusion was way too realistic, even for my usual standards. And boy, was it gruesome. Too gruesome. I was still out of breath. Could a simple delusion really do this to me? No, it definitely couldn't. I felt an uncomfortable sensation in my right hand. I'd been clutching my fist so hard, my fingers had nearly turned white. I hadn't even noticed until just now. I slowly opened my hand, one finger at a time, all while my heart pounded like a drum. Lying in the palm of my hand was a single stake. Terrified by the sight of it, I instinctively turned and threw it against the wall. That was the stake from before. Well, I definitely did pick one up off the ground earlier, but how was that even possible? Hadn't it all just been a delusion? I don't know. It can't be possible. It can't be. Ooh, that wobbling. At my wit's end, I started pacing around my room. I needed to figure out whether that nightmare had been real, or just another delusion. Oh, frick. That was the plan, at least, until I slipped on a CD case and lost my balance. In a panic, I reached out for something to keep myself from falling flat on the floor. I barely managed to find something to latch onto, but unfortunately, that something was my shelf of waifus. Aw. Ooh. Before I had the chance to regret it, it was already too late. In the end, no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't able to stop myself from falling rear first onto the floor. And to make matters worse, several of my beautifully arranged figures came tumbling down on top of me. Ugh, gosh darn it! This was the worst. Everything about this was just the worst. I let out a groan as I rose to my feet. I had to make sure my figures were safe. Ah! Igniston from Jingai Makyo! Your sword! It snapped clean in two. Why did it have to be one of the expensive ones? I'd paid a premium online for this! Gosh darn it! You've got to be freaking kidding me! I tried putting the two halves of the blade back together, but I'd never be able to fix it perfectly, even if I used glue. Any value it once had was now gone. Give me a freaking break! Frick! I turned to my chair and kicked it out of sheer rage. Tears began to well up in my eyes. Why did I have to go through all of this? What had I done to deserve this? I fell to the floor and just sat there for a while, heartbroken, staring dejectedly at my now swordless Igniston. Once the storm of anger and confusion had passed, I found my mind filling with visions of her face, along with that modern art I'd seen. I had actually been physically holding one of those stakes, which meant it couldn't have been a delusion. It had all been real. I really wanted to deny it, but there was no way I could. By tomorrow, it was sure to be all over the media. I really didn't want anything to do with this nightmare. There was no way associating with that girl, no, that demon, could bring anything but catastrophe for me. Heck, we'd only just met for the first time, and there had already been a disaster. After all, I'd brought home a critical piece of evidence from that incident, one of the stakes that had been used in the murder. I wouldn't be surprised if that on its own was enough to make me a suspect. And if things weren't bad enough, that demon had seen my face. There was no way out of this mess. At this rate, I was going to... That demon was going to... No, forget about that. For now, I should focus on getting things sorted in my head. For my own sake. If I valued my own life, I really needed to figure things out. No doubt about it. That picture must have been some sort of advance notice for the murder. Oh, see, so I was thinking that too. Shogun equals mystery girl equals murderer and demon. That can't be right then, right? It can't be Shogun. That they're probably trying to lead me away from it, because that's immediately what I thought. Interesting. Okay. See, and I thought that kind of too, that it was like the pictures were sent, they mentioned something about that this was going to happen again, and then now this girl killed somebody in the same way. Wow, okay. Otherwise, there'd be no way the image could have matched up so perfectly with the crime scene. First, she'd edited that image together. Then she'd recreated it in real life, right down to the finest detail. That was how the crime had happened. No, in her eyes, I bet it was more of a work of art than a crime. Also, too, didn't Shogun say... Didn't Shogun know our name? Taku, I think? No. Maybe not. It was just the girl that knew our name, I think. Yeah, I think that's how that happened. She seemed like that kind of psycho dedicated to finishing any job with nothing but sheer perfection. She's screwed up in the head. But why show that picture to me? And wait, how did she know I was Nidhart? And how the heck did she know my real name? Ugh. What was I supposed to do? That demon would definitely come to kill me soon. If she already knew my name, email, and all that stuff, then there was a very good chance she knew my home address too. I curled up into the fetal position in my chair. The image of that twisted murder was etched into my mind. How could I stay calm when I could end up that same way too? I don't want to die, 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 I don't want to die.
Don't worry, it's gonna be A-okay.
Huh? Seraton lay sideways on my desk, facing toward me with a smile.
Taki, all you gotta do is hole yourself up in this nice little room. Just do that, and then the big scary demon can't do nothing to ya. She'll get caught by the police any day now anyway. Till then, you can't trust anyone. Don't listen to anything that anyone says. You see, the thing about demons is that they love taking advantage of the weakness in people's hearts. So letting your guard down is a big no-no. I know you can make it through this, Taki.
But, Seda...
He who runs away lives to fight another day. I think there was a saying that went like that, right? You should just forget all about the 3D world. Just keep telling yourself, it's got nothing to do with me, and you'll feel much better. 'Cause if it's got nothing to do with you, then there's no need to worry about it, right? In fact, let me teach you something you're really gonna like. Did you know that shut-ins are the strongest people in the world? I mean, they never ever see anyone at all. So they can never ever be attacked by anyone. That means their self-defense is the super strongest. So, Taki, all you have to do is become a complete shut-in. Simple, right?
You might be right. Just what I'd expect from my waifu. I could always count on her to give me the best advice. Having regained my peace of mind, I reached out my hand for Seraton, lightly grasping her by her slim waist. Even as our faces drew closer, her smile never wavered. Thank you, Sera. I'm feeling a lot better now, all thanks to you. And you know what? You're right. The 3D world can eat crap. And as for that demon girl, I'll bet she doesn't care that some otaku freak like me saw her anyway. I'm perfectly safe. I can just live on in peace, playing ESO, watching my favorite anime, or whatever else, and everything will be just fine.
Just remember what I said before, Taki. Never let your guard down, you hear?
Yeah, I know. I couldn't trust anyone. I wouldn't listen to a single word they had to say. All I had to do was be cautious of everything in the 3D world. As long as I did that, everything would be just fine. I'm so glad you cared that much about me, Sarah. Well then, time to play some ESO and get some life back in me.